So, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Inspiring Conversations podcast with the beautiful Irene, who is going to be talking about the wonders of unschooling, a huge, huge topic that I'm so excited to talk about. So, welcome, Irene.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
Oh,
Thank you for having me.
we're going to have a really interesting and deep conversation about this because I've got lots of questions that I'm sure are going to come up as we continue talking. So for those of you that are joining me for the first time, I'm Natasha Nicole Harris, and I am your host for these weekly shows, my soul wisdom shows, and twice a month I always have a beautiful conversation with a beautiful like-minded soul-led entrepreneur, and we are always, and I work with soul-led entrepreneurs as well to really support them into next level leadership and impact and wealth and success. So Irene, please introduce yourself to people that are watching, and if you're watching the replay, type #replay and keep asking us questions all the way throughout. So Irene.
Thank you, Natasha. I'm so stoked to be here and for the invitation. Thank you. My name is Irene Kainz. I live in Austria, and I'm mother of a son who is almost 13. He turns 13 next week sometimes. Or when
Teenager.
turning to a teenager. And I got obviously through him into this topic of unschooling, which is quite uncommon and unpopular in Austria, especially at that time, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
In the UK. In the UK and in the English-speaking countries, it's more popular to know about the possibility on homeschooling. Unschooling is even, I'm not sure. I mean, you can tell me how much that is a known topic.
Not so much, I wouldn't say. Well, I don't have children, so I can't comment. But my friends who have children, I've never really heard about the term unschooling. So I just felt it was such a relevant and interesting conversation to be having with parents out there who really want to know about alternative ways of doing things. Yeah. So 6 years you've been working on this.
Yes. And what I mean by unschooling is we all, especially in the field who are in personal development, we all know that we got conditioned a lot as a child. And those conditionings are, of course, come from family, from parents, come from school and society itself, because parents and teachers also are conditioned, right? So there is this blueprint, this societal blueprint that gets passed on, like from generation to generation. And since school is something that everyone mostly on this planet goes through, and everywhere it looks kind of the same, everywhere is this focus of putting everyone on kind of the same level and go through the same curriculum and do it at the same time and age and in the same structure. And I mean, like, you look everywhere on this planet, it's everywhere kind of the same. It's like this hour and then the next subject, and from age till I don't know when, and in the morning, I mean it's everywhere the same. And if we now, and I think it's so obvious that now we are on this huge new step into a new paradigm on so many levels. It's just really time to think about this intense conditioning everyone goes through in a very critical age, where we are like really formed. And we all know, we are like in this, doing this personal development work, we all know how challenging it can be to decondition from all those things. And if we manage for our next generation to save them from those conditionings in the first place, I mean, imagine what generation there is, growing, and what society could be. I mean, every time I'm saying a sentence like that, I feel I'm lacking words. I can't, because this is such a huge vision that opens up for me then, imagining that no child has to do these conditionings where it's about hierarchy, it's about no, I'm missing the word, like, that there are better ones than other ones, and it's this
competition.
Exactly. And, having the methods of going there and bullying and all these kinds of things that is created because we are all still living a paradigm where the needs of adults are more valued and more important, seen more important than the needs of children. And as long as we go into relationship, well, this is not even really go into relationship, as long as we treat children like that as an adult, my needs are more important than yours, we create this again, that they, when they are adults, have the need to do this also to get validated.
Yes, exactly.
And it's time to break the cycle.
Exactly. And then the cycle continues and continues and continues. And I think, in education, again, don't know a huge amount about it from the inside, but nothing much has changed in education systems for centuries. And we're still learning the same things over and over again. And it's when are we going to break that cycle of empowering children? And as you say, it's the same thing for every child over and over again, pretty much worldwide. And we forget the uniqueness of every child. Like, I wasn't academic. I had to fit into and do my best, but I wasn't academic. I was more of someone who liked to learn in a very applied way. So I would learn through doing, not through reading and textbooks and everything else. So I always thought I was not clever. Like, I wasn't as good as everyone else because I struggled with that. But I was very lucky that my parents were very open to saying, do your best. That's all we ask. Don't put yourself under pressure. It's fine. We'll give you any help that you need, but, don't put yourself under pressure for it, and just try your best. So I was a trier. I tried my best, and my best was still pretty much average, or just below average, but I got through. And then when I went to college, I did an applied course, and I loved it. It was so different. It was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother world out here.
And why couldn't we do this from the very beginning? If I mean, this is the thing. And I mean, if you look through, people, adults, we all have that we feel we are not good enough in this area or in that area or here and there because of that.
Yeah.
Because we are like trained to be the same, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, no one says that really, but I mean, if you look at the roots of the schooling system, they come from Germany, like from the German-speaking area, and I mean, it's here. It was created with the intention of building soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, the obedience thing was a strong thing, and for building workers in Fabriken, in
the factories.
In factories, exactly. Yeah. So so they also obedience.
Yeah. Yes.
And and this, of course, is not. I mean, we are not on time with this anymore. Of course, we don't. I mean, not even that. We never needed obedient people. I mean, also that if you look at from the economic structure, also there we need creative people. We need a lot of creative people who are ready to solve and deal with those problems we already have, these major problems in the world. And no one is capable for that, really, honestly, because we mistrained that part of everyone in us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like that, even with the creative subjects, if you like, it's still marked. It's still like, this is good creativity, this is bad creativity. And creativity in general is just not encouraged. And as you say, you know, the way that we workers were, you know, in time gone past is not the world that we live in today. And there's, I think it's something like 60% of the jobs that exist today didn't exist 50 years ago, you know, so we have to be creative in the way that the world moves, and the education system is not in any way catching up with that, to give people the opportunity to think outside the box. It's like, stay in the box. Don't navigate out of the box. Don't deviate out of the box. You won't, you know, you won't do well.
And you said the last few decades, it didn't give those, we didn't have those 60% of jobs, but now this is exaggerating. I mean, we're in a changing, I mean, time is changing so fastly. Probably 95% within 5 years, we don't even, you know, I mean, probably this is not even a high guess. So, and what my son would still be learning in school is probably the same I have already learned 30 years ago. And this was out of date already then, you know. So the one is, you know, the personal development side. Why for me unschooling is such an important topic. You know, kids are already full people. I mean, they're finished humans, you know. And you don't have to,
I love that.
you know, they need what we all need. They need a safe and inspiring environment to develop themselves, but it's nothing they are lacking. The only thing we have is more experience with this world. But this doesn't mean that we know better.
No, we only have the experience of the world we're in, which is not the world that they're going to be moving into, right?
And create our own imagination of our world, and, you know, like everyone else. And then, you know, the curriculum, like I said, is totally outdated. I mean, in a world where we know we have access to knowledge within seconds through the internet. I mean, why do kids still have to memorize stuff, really, you know? And we all know we learn best what we are interested in. And why do have kids to learn stuff they are not interested in? Not at this time. Maybe they are like in 10 years interested in, but maybe then not anymore, because it already got, you know, crashed, and a belief created that I'm not good in this. So the interest got, you know, winded down. Even for later.
Yes. And we change as we grow, like our interests change and grow, and things I'm interested in now was not the same then. And my schooling has got nothing to do with what I did. I mean, I trained in IT programming, you know, I was a programmer. So I couldn't be further removed from what I do now. And I was in IT and an IT manager for 10, 12 years. I mean, like, you can't get further from where I am today, but it's all part of the stepping stone. So I have no regrets about that, but it's so interesting. So what is the unschooling process then? Just like briefly, just explain that a little bit.
Well, the unschooling is basically, and, you know, I want to really say that this is the best we can do right now. I don't think this is the best vision I have for how kids can grow up, but this is just in our next step, the best thing I see we can do until new structures are created. But I mean, so many kids don't want to go to school. So many kids are forced into school. So many kids are forced every day into school. So many kids are forced every day for homework and stuff like that. So I felt my highest value with my son is the relationship I built with him. And with forcing him all those things, I'm not even like really sure of I don't even value myself. If forcing this same thing, I'm totally sabotaging our relationship.
Yeah.
And so we decided he can stay at home, and I'll do my best. We all do my best to keep a creative environment, to to develop our own interests and go for them, because this is so much more important, how we show our kids how we live our life and how fulfilled we can get to be in our lives, and how we deal with things. This is, they learn much more from that than from books they have to read.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kept staying at home. And really, I mean, how does it look like? Like, before they went to school, when they could do, like, there isn't anything changing. And I know how difficult it is for people to, and for me before I started this as well, to imagine how it works. But I mean, he's just at home doing whatever he feels to do, and being in connection with people he likes, and starts creating his life like in his own manners, with the guidance of me and the other adults around him.
Yeah. I mean, it's so beautiful, isn't it? I mean, even just today, just what you were saying there just reminded me of like kids being forced to school every day. I mean, just this morning I went for a walk in the park, and there was a child, probably about 8 years old, being dragged across the field by his mother, screaming and wailing, and she just had him firmly by the hand and was just literally pulling him, marching across, evidently going to school. And it just hurt my heart to see a child so visibly distressed that clearly, for whatever reason, who knows, was not wanting to go. And it was painful to watch. It was painful. And the mother just was doing what she had to do, but there's just no awareness. So it's just creating that awareness, I guess.
Exactly.
You can do things differently, right?
Exactly.
Most people are just like, this is what we have to do. I don't have another option. And so it's
and
to do things differently.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely not here for blaming that mother, because I mean, we don't know her situation, and we don't know, why she does it. But on an overall scale, I mean, we live in a world where we, at least we think we value human rights. And in some parts it's more happening than in others, especially now. But human rights also apply for children. And here are we at this thing that, it's actually, the term is adultism, that the needs of adults are more valued than the needs of children. But at the same time, we say we are not violent against children. But if we force them to somewhere, this is violence. So actually, the most important work to do in this entire framework of unschooling kids is the deschooling of ourselves, of the adults, of the parents. And this is a hard thing. I mean, we all know how strong those patterns work within ourselves, especially those when they are like really from the very beginning, and everyone does it, and that's
it's
what
not an easy
the main work is.
Exactly. It's not an easy path to follow. It's like we're in similar circles, and we know that the level of shifts and perceptions that we have to take in order to break down old beliefs, and some of those are really strong, right? Some of those are like, no, I want to hold on to those because they make me and help me to stay safe. But it's an illusion. A lot of it's an illusion of staying safe, and we have to allow ourselves to walk a different path. And that's what, you know, you and I are doing, is trying to create this awareness around a different way of doing things, that there are alternatives. They aren't always easy, and that we don't always know where those steps are going to take us, right? Because as you say, this is you for now, this is the best that we can do for now. And that is such an important and beautiful first step to remember. I think that we want to have all the pieces worked out before we're willing to take that first step, but we don't.
Yeah, thank you that you, this to pull this out again, because it's also so important for parents who walk this path. I mean, it's quite, you start and it's quite idealistic, and then like everything you see, oh my gosh, with my 6 years now of parenting my child unschooled. I mean, he's 13 now, but this path of really, and it took a lot. It was a huge decision. No one I knew did that.
Yeah.
I didn't have anyone, any idol, anyone through the internet maybe, but no one in person.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years it came much more popular, but it still is like, no, it's really a slow, very little segment. And within those 6 years where I'm really focused, I was there before, let's say these 13 years of being a mom.
Yeah.
I really was focused, to not harm him emotionally, and to work on myself, to work on my own trauma, to not pass it on. And I have to admit, stuff happens, and I already can see that I did pass on some of my stuff towards him.
Yeah.
But still, I hope it is less than if I wouldn't have been less conscious.
Yeah.
And also I see I work differently, or I relate differently with him, seeing that I already passed something on, and going into relationship with that again, and showing him that I'm only a human as well. I'm doing whatever I try to do, and
absolutely. And we're all learning as we go, right? But we don't
Mhm.
shift anything unless we're willing to take that, I don't want to say a leap of faith, but that trust that if we just try to do things differently, if we just try to break down some of those things that we have been passing on, we're doing a huge, huge service to the next generation, because it all ripples out. Just even the few changes that we're making day by day is just rippling out through them, because they absorb things, they take things on differently, they have then different tools to see the world differently and run with that, right? And then they spread that out through everything that they do. So I think I talk about this a lot with my own clients and in my own communities. We can't underestimate the impact and the ripple that we have through even just doing the smallest things. And you saying that just being aware of your relationship with your son, that in itself is huge. Just that one intention to stay aware of your relationship and how you communicate with him and how what you do impacts him is huge in itself.
Yeah, and also what I can see as a result, if you want to get that technical, is, I mean, it maybe he hasn't heard about some stuff other kids usually have heard about with 13 before.
Yeah.
But I totally can see how he sticks out from people and kids from his age in in this, I like to call it emotional education, because of me being very conscious about our relationship and putting that as priority above all. And he's totally differently conditioned when he's doing some sports and he's with schools kids mostly, and how the kids from school react to certain things and how he reacts. I mean, this is like different planet. And especially in this gender stuff, for example, where other boys in this age who they're so much more separated
Yeah.
in their upbringing, and then there is already this polarity towards girls, and then there is this against each other thing already, and
Mhm.
there's nothing like that
Yeah.
in my son behaviors.
It's so interesting, isn't it? It must be so fascinating to see that difference of that emotional intelligence, that emotional ability to communicate and connect with other people on a very different level. And that must be beautiful to see and watch for you.
It is. And of course there are also, I mean, I'm still trained to look, for the mistake, like we all are.
Oh yes, those
Where is the
wonderful
part that
mistakes.
is wrong?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And of course I do see that also where, you know the leg maybe is, or stuff like that.
Mm,
But then, how important is it really? We will see. I don't know. I mean, and I try to state this paradigm with him that whatever he is interested in, he always, I mean, there is no time where you can learn, and past that you can't.
yeah.
I mean, it's
No.
always the option to develop and learn
Yes. Don't we
and
just know
grow,
it?
and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, what also is really, really strongly developed more than in kids I observe who are going into school, is this natural thing of manifesting.
Oh, now I have like that's given me the goosebumps.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
So
mean,
tell me a bit more about that.
since I get the feeling he was allowed to stay more connected to his, own guidance system, to source, to
Yeah.
his um, intuition.
Yeah.
Um, when he was 10 years old, he
Yes.
was like, because in Austria it's the situation that once a year he has to do a test, an
Yeah.
exam
Yeah.
over the curriculum from the year.
Yeah.
This is the legal thing here. And when he was 10, he was like, Mom, if I would have done a little bit every day the entire year, I wouldn't be so stressed right now, because he tried to, we tried
Yeah.
to put everything into the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I found it really, really cool that I've never told him, we as kids if you did that, you would have this.
Yes.
We heard this all the time as a kid,
Yeah.
but it was his own realization. I didn't tell him.
Yeah. That's
This
incredible,
was
isn't it?
this was the first thing, and then he said, and next year I'd love to have a small group with more structure, because until 10 he was at home and we
Yeah.
met with people and we did our very unstructured thing.
Yeah.
But then he articulated, I want this. And he was
Yeah.
extremely clear in this.
Yeah.
Small group, more structure.
Beautiful.
And on one hand, I was like, wow. And on the other hand, it was like, we're living in a very rural area. I knew what was going on there. Like within this scene, there was nothing really going on, and I knew all the people, and we tried a few things already, and I knew,
Yeah.
if I am the one who has to generate this now, I'm really pressured, because
Yeah.
I can't. I tried,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, I was observing myself, letting it go. And Natasha, within 2 or 3 weeks, someone called me. Do you know there is a group building? They want to start a free schooling project. And
Wow.
do you know that already? And I was like, oh. And actually, I knew I've heard that before, but I
Yeah.
wanted to try to get in contact with the woman who leaded it, and it was really. I tried 3-4 times, didn't work out. I was letting it go. And then also I was like, usually those groups, when they start, they they are focused on young children with the
Right.
start of 6 years in Austria. It's when they have to go in school, like on those kind of age, and he was already 10. And I was like, we'll see. And
Wow.
like a miracle, there were 5 kids within his age. And this is really, really a miracle. This was not foreseen. You know, nowhere when those groups start, they always start with 6-year-olds and not with the older ones.
That's incredible.
And he just manifested it like that.
That's so amazing, isn't it? And it's like we put our intentions out there, and we're always, you know, I guess a big part of it of childhood is like, don't be such a big dreamer, just get on and get your head down and, you know, do this and you'll be okay, as you said. And it's like, but what happens when we put our heads up and we just put something out there and we really want something, we desire something? It's like, oh, now I'm the master creator, and being able to teach children that, and or not even to teach them, but just to lead by example, so that they can see it happening, unfolding before their very eyes. It's like, well, I just put this out there and here it is. When you say, it's like, it's a miracle, it's magic at play. That's how powerful we are and what we can create. How beautiful. That must have been so exciting for him as well. Yes.
And this is now 3 years ago. I mean, it's his 3rd year within this group, and he loves it there. And now they're like really also, you know, creating the daily structure for the needs of teenagers. I mean, this is so beautiful. And we know from brain science and all those alternative pedagogic, like Montessori and Steiner and stuff. I mean, they already said that within the age of 13 to 16, there is not a lot of cognitive learning possible, really, because, you know, everything the brain gets, you know, different chemistry, you know, rebuilt. And that's the time for applied stuff. This is the time for applied stuff, for doing things, for creating things, for building things, for growing things, and stuff like that. And that's what they do there. And he loves it. And yeah.
How fantastic, and what a gift. And I can only imagine that, you know, as you have to, you know, go against the old paradigm and to do things differently and to stand out, must have been quite difficult in some ways for you. Or did you find it just like it was just something you innately knew you had to do, and it was just a no-brainer, and it was just like, okay, here it is, and it happened naturally for you?
It was a huge thing, and it was a no-brainer at some point as well. I mean, it was like I had this idea he was going to a Montessori school, which was the only alternative school in the area, and I knew it had to be at least an alternative school. But then he didn't like it there.
Right. Oh, right.
There was some weird relationship with his teacher, and he didn't like it there. And I was like, okay, so now what's next? And you know, like a miracle, this was when those in the German speaking area anyway, when those online summits started.
Oh yeah.
And I've never heard of an online summit before, and the first one I've heard before was on free and self-led education. And I was watching
coincidences.
And I was watching those. I think it was 40 interviews of people all over the world who had experience, mainly parents, but also teachers, but also psychologists, and also a few of already teenager kids who experienced it for themselves, on, you know, educating themselves or their kids without a curriculum, without a school, just, you know, following their potential and their own ideas and their own interests. And I was like, wow. I mean, I haven't heard before. I haven't heard this before myself. I knew about alternatives, but no pedagogic, actually, you know, this, because it's not an alternative, it's a complete different segment. And And then I was like, okay, I realized in Austria it's possible with this one exam a year, like, because there are many countries where there is a huge legal issue around this. You in the UK are quite happy, can be quite happy because it's totally legal. You probably don't even have to do tests, what I've heard.
Oh, right. Okay.
But here it's like, okay, we had this one test, and then I was talking to people who did that already, and I was like, I remember this one situation when I was standing on my balcony and had this, wide view into the forest, and I was like, it fell. The decision fell. I didn't take it. It fell, and it was like, okay, that's our path. And this was so strong that it was actually quite easy, especially in hindsight. It's always easier in hindsight.
Yeah, of course. Oh yes, that was just the path I walked. I know that feeling.
To walk that path. But it didn't took that. I mean, maybe the first 1 year or two, I was questioning it a lot, but then we got in the flow, and I saw how natural it actually is.
Yeah. Yes.
And and this last 2 years around the pandemic, homeschooling became a huge thing, and then it became much more awareness, and now the regulation in Austria became more strict because they wanted to get all these pupils back into school. And so this one exam it's still just one exam, and the midterm talk. It's a new added midterm talk, and the exam became much more strict. So it's really, there is so much that they asked for, and it was so obvious that this is a fight from the system, or whatever, the government, or whatever you want to call it, against the parents who want more freedom, and on the back of the kids. They have to. So actually there is a movement of parents right now in Austria who are really going completely new paths with that, not obeying to the legal system, and not just relying on this human right of being free of violence.
And free to choose how we want to do that, and how we want to bring up our children. So I guess that, like, the question is, do you like, because obviously it's clearly different in every country, but for people who are watching and who are interested, who've had an inkling perhaps of, they want to take their children out of the school system, are there sort of set pieces of advice that you might give people to start investigating or to start looking at? What would you say to parents who might be listening and going,
it definitely is helpful to know about the legal situation in your country. And this is quite easily to research. And the other thing is to really, if you really walk that path, it needs a lot of trust and faith. This is the most important thing we can do, to have faith in the child and in yourself, and in humankind, basically, because we already have everything within us from the very beginning. And also you have to know that this is a journey. This is a journey of growth and development.
For everybody, and mostly for oneself. And the focus during this period of school time, where other kids would be, these 10 years or 15 years or whatever, the focus is on myself, and not to try to manipulate something within the child, because they are so free already. They are free. We need to rebuild our freedom. Yes, absolutely. And if we try to to contain it, try to bring it in, then it's everything we're trying to unlearn and everything we're trying to do differently. So yeah, I love that. So it's like really trust and faith in the system and in yourself and the child and everyone around. And it's a journey. It really truly is. And you've been on one. So I know that the workshops and the things that you offer are in German, but you do one-to-one support, don't you, with people?
Yes. Because it's mostly an emotional journey. It's an emotional and mindset journey. But for me, I see it even more emotional because the relationship part is so strongly in that, you know. I mean, we don't have any stronger relationships than to our kids, really. Yeah. So this is so emotionally tangled. Our mindset is so emotionally tangled that I start with the emotional set up, really.
Yes.
And that's basically my work I'm doing. And I'm really happy to work. And I also know I'm best with one-on-one work. This is my most favorite setting to work one-on-one.
Get really deep.
And I'm really happy to do this also in English. And and especially now in September, I have a really special offer for one-on-one, a special rate. So
okay, so if there is anyone watching, then to really reach out to Irene and just to inquire if you've got any inkling that this is something that's been like, or it's like now it's like, oh my goodness, this really does resonate. It's such an important topic. And you know, I have so many conversations about education and not knowing, again, as I said, you know, the in-depths of it from an insider point of view, but just really how we want to change that and to empower young people to do things differently so they can be a huge part of the changing world that we're, as you say, so rapidly walking into. There's no stopping the momentum that we've created for change, right? It's clear it's going faster and faster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, if someone wants to dig deeper into this topic, I'm hosting a series of I call it Unschooling talks.
Yes.
I host them actually on Instagram, but also I put the videos then on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Also there, they are mostly in German, but I had a few interview partners in English also, so you can pick out. And I hope it works, but actually it should have subtitles as well. So you can even watch the German YouTube talks, Unschooling talks, and read the subtitles.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. So you can put the link in the comments section when we finish this interview. But what is where would people search on YouTube? What would they be looking for?
With my name. My account is my name.
Yeah. And on Instagram?
Also.
Oh, so it's active.
It's all my name, yes.
Okay, so that makes it really easy. People watching can see how to spell it and just pop it in. But yes, I highly recommend that if you've got any inkling that this might be for you, and this just to explore what it might look like, to get in touch with Irene and just to follow her on YouTube and on Instagram and really to start learning a little bit more about it. This has been so fascinating. I really strongly believe we have to change the way we do things, the way we communicate with our young people, how we give them that opportunity to really shine now going forward. And I do believe education is the biggest part that needs to play a different game in that going forward. So I really do. Thank you, Irene. It's been beautiful. Thank you so much. Is there one last thing or anything you'd like to say to anyone watching? We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, and I can empower you that, you know, if you feel any kind of draw into that direction to deal with your kids differently, do it. I mean, this is the most rewarding thing you can do. Really create a beautiful relationship with your kids, and this doesn't mean that you necessarily walk this unschooling path, but anything that is improving your relationship with kids, it's like already, I mean, huge. Yeah. And I also want to say, Natasha, thank you for not only having me, but also for your work, because basically, I mean, you're doing the same thing, just with adults, with themselves.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, we're all on the same path, really.
Yeah, and that's so what's so beautiful, isn't it? It's like we're unlearning things in different ways through different tools. I use the Akashic Records and coaching and energy work, but it's like we're so ready for this change, but we have to unlearn things and we have to relearn things. We have it all within us, as you already beautifully said. It's unlocking it, it's allowing it, it's unleashing it, it's bringing it to the forefront and remembering who we are innately, away from the structures that confine us, constrain us, constrict us. Let's all be free. Let's all create some more freedom in our lives. And I love what you're doing, and thank you for your work, because it is such an important part for the next generation, that as adults we really stand up for them and we honor them and we give them different ways of doing that. So thank you. So thank you. We will post Irene will post the links in the comments section. If you've got any questions, if you're watching the replay, please just ask us any questions. Tag Irene or I. We will come back in and we will answer them at any point. Doesn't matter when that is. Let's spread the word. Let's start doing things differently, and let's start creating even more change on the planet. We're already doing it in huge waves, rippling it out, but let's do it even more. So thank you again for joining me. Thank you again for watching, and do come and join me every week, 4 p.m. UK time, in my Soul Aligned Leaders Facebook group, for live shows, live interviews, live conversations, inspire us to do things differently on all walks of life. So thank you for joining me, for those of you joined us live, and those of you that are watching the replay, and we will see you again soon. Bye for now.